Well, the music, fashion and art industry have gained boost over the years, and there have been speculations and assumptions as to why that is. Now, some say that it is the singularity of individual successes duplicated across different individuals who have spotlighted Africa, but some also say that it's because of social media. Now, we have platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, enhancing African culture to the point where those who are non-Africans try to embrace African culture. I mean, recently I saw a trend where a white lady gets married to a black man, especially a Nigerian, and she's proud of the fact that her friends will tie gele and Asoebi at her wedding. So these questions remain unanswered. Why exactly are we seeing a boost in an embrace of African culture to the point where Afrobeat is dominating the music industry? Paintings and of course fashion from Africa is also dominating across the globe. These are the questions and many more that we'll be answering today on Fafanua Africa. So to start with, let's find out, why do we think that African culture is being embraced all of a sudden on social media? Who wants to go first?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Vanessa Nimos Bemisela, a 500 level law student of Lagos State University. Okay, African culture, we say, is the soul and heart of every African. Why the language is our identity that make us distinct and different from every other person. Now we are saying that African culture has evolved more than the earlier years. For earlier years, where we have to say that African culture has been told its own history, how to operate, how it can be practiced. But nowadays, in the 21st century, as Africa has evolved, we have the Afro music that have been played on international stages. We have the Adre, we have the tie and dye that have become the top of runways. We now have our designs that have been recreated in a particular way that will entice every person. Now the question was asked, why should we have Asoebi in a non-Nigerian wedding, or I mean in a white wedding? Is because we have started rebranding. We have strategized and ensure that this thing will bring it into modernization. We have the shirts, we have the trousers that everybody will want to put on, but now everybody would want to put on something that will make their dress unique. I'm putting on African dress and I'm putting on the earring. I'm embracing African culture. I speak Africa. I wear Africa because I'm an African lady. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wants to go?
My name is Bolu. So the question says, why is African art all of a sudden being embraced? Okay, so first of all, we have to understand that African art has always been very good. We've always produced very good art. We've always produced very beautiful artistic works, right? But the difference now is the world has opened up because of digitalization. So, and the thing about excellence is when you experience excellence, you always want to engage with it. And when the Europeans or foreigners, those who are not Africans, when they started experiencing African art, they were able to say that, oh, okay, this thing is actually beautiful. You cannot ignore our art, the way we dance, the way we make our clothes, the way we sing. You cannot ignore it when you see it as a foreigner. So what happened was, we don't have the structures to actually monetize those things. That is why African art is now being embraced by Europeans, who obviously have the structures to be able to monetize them and extract the value from them. So it's not because we have not been producing art, no. It's because now the art is being seen by the world and the world has the structures to then monetize them. So that's my take.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Catherine Maburukoje, and I would like us to take it a little while back. So let's say in the year 1980s and the 1990s, we can see that the European culture and the way they dress, their music had more influence on African culture, because then we listen to their music, we wear their outfits, we wear their clothes, their boot cuts, whatever outfit they do that time. We embraced their culture. But as time goes by and the intervention of social media and the internet, now they now have the access to see what we do, rather than that time where what they do is what we see. Now they have the opportunity to see what we also do. They have the opportunity to listen to our music, which was, let's say, something that Fela did most. Like he rebranded African songs, like Nigerian songs, Afrobeats, to the world. And then now they can see what we do. That now we can also say that we also have influence with their own culture too, because in their fashion, we that we're sewing Ashwebi outfits now, we imbibe corsets to it, which is not what we do in the normal time. So now it is, for me, it is vice versa. We embrace theirs, they embrace ours too, because there are things that they are doing that we now do, but not as much as then, because we are also proud of our culture now. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Okay, so I would like to say something with regards to the fashion. I would say that our clothes now have global appeal. Before, we only like do things that fit us and fit what we want. So now we are now combining Ashoke, Adire, Ankara with modern silhouettes. So what we're doing before was like traditional clothes or wrappers, but now we're not integrating their culture into ours. So it's not cultural appropriation anymore, but it's like a combination, a collaboration between both brands, both cultures, and that is why it's now appealing to them. And also social media influencers, we see videos on social media, Lagos Fashion Week, African Fashion Week. So it is bringing us to the forefront, to the world, and the world is coming to us. So that is why.
My name is Ajala Kennedy Toye, a law student of the prestigious university, Lagos State University. To my own perspective, long before even the Europeans and the Americans, even before they noticed African, every individual, or let me say, every society have their own culture. The European have their culture, the African have their culture. But to my own perspectives, in my own readings, I would say Africa as a continent reshaped the global culture. Let me give for an instance, the pyramids in Egypt. It was long there, even before centuries. The pyramids there, it was what inspired global culture in a way of building big architectural designs by even the Europeans and the Americans. They noticed they were civilized in building monuments, good architectural designs through these pyramids. If to me, I would rather say African culture reshaped the global culture.
Good afternoon. My name is Sadu Hafiz Olamide from Federal Polytechnic of Akwa State. My contribution towards this discussion is all about the African. I would like to discuss about the African culture, global, how it influences in global creativity. How is it influencing in terms of music aspects, fashion, and art aspects? In terms of music aspects, let's take a look of David Wizkid and Drake, which they collaborate together in a song which was titled, and I'm forgetting the title already. One Dance. So if you can get a look at it, so you see that there are so many things that is African they use in it in terms of their rhymes, their styles of singing, their Afrobeats, etc. But in terms of fashion, they really took a lot of things. They look us and they copy us in terms of the way we sew our clothes, like Ankara, what's it called, Kante, etc. And in terms of art, let's take a look of what is it called, Piska Bowman. There's one woman and there's an artist called Piska Bowman. So I would like to, in conclusion, I would like to let every one of us to know that African culture influences global creativities in Nigeria.
Good afternoon. My name is Isaac Taiwo Lakunle. I'm the Vice President for the Historical Student Society UNILAC chapter. Before the influence of music, arts, and culture, probably on, let's say, on the global space. Now, I want us to address the misconception about this culture. And culture is not, this art and music and our clothes is not just for entertainment. This is us. This is what we are. It's just like when we have this conceptualization that this is our identity. So when we look at what we have now, for an example, I want to cite a museum, this Nikkei Art Gallery. When we see what is happening there now, it's just like showing us that Africa as a continent. Now let's go back to 1883, 1884, 1885, when we had the Berlin Conference of 18, when the European came. Something attracted them. And what was that? Our culture, what we wear, what we say. Now when we look at, there was a time I had this concept that, okay, from today I'm going to be wearing an Ankara baggy trousers, and then I'm going to add a white shirt on it. I said, why? Why should I have a white shirt? So when we appreciate our culture, that okay, before we have the influence, appreciation that okay, this is our own identity. Not just looking at the space of we are listening to music, we are wearing clothes. We should have this attribution that this is what we are and this is what we do. So we'll look at all these our music. Let's take Fela as an example. This man made history even before majority of us here were born. So we are still listening to his music, and not just music. It is not just for entertainment. Lessons, historical context that are bringing like structural development into our community, even at the global space. So when we are looking at the influence of music, our influence of art, artifacts, and the clothes and everything, music particularly, it is not just. I want us to raise this misconception that it's entertainment. This is what we do. So we have different genres, the Afrobeats, the classical, the jazz, and all. But ours is something we should just take. We shouldn't take it with levity. But this is what, just like I said earlier, that we should take it as our identity. So we will look at all this, our Ashoke, our Adire. Like one of my colleagues, she said something earlier that okay, we have Ashwebi. We've been having this since onset, basically. But why do we have to add a corset to it? We have Oleku then that our mothers wear a very short skirt and a very nice attire. So the influence is not something we can just cover up. It is something that has gone global. So we as an individual, we as Africans, just I'm going to like say in my dialect that Orisun Wagogoni Ijinle. So when we have this conception that yes, this is what we are and that's what we are going to be. Thank you.
Okay, before the next speaker, I want to ask a follow-up question to that. Are we then saying that cultural infiltration is wrong? Because she said something, and rightfully so, that we are embracing the culture. So it's like we're localizing the Western culture and globalizing our own culture. So is it wrong to, allow for cultural infiltration? Are we just meant to stick with our own culture so that we can sell it better? What do you think about that?
Okay, in historical context, there's what we call nation building. Now, this is something that we can't do without. We are going to have interaction. Social interaction, cultural interaction. But the main of it is that when we are having this interaction, we shouldn't sideline our own attires, our own journeys, our own being. So in terms of interacting with other space, with other spheres, we should try and make ours like it is our own. Tiwa. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we are saying, yes, this is our own, interacting with others, when this is how they are taking their culture, yes, it will be more preferable that, okay, let's take this. I'm not saying we shouldn't take that. No, yes, we do. We wear shirts, but the levity we use, like it is so outrageous now that we sideline. Okay, I'm going to cite a reference. There's a poem New Tongue by Elizabeth. Now in that poem, it is the total demoralization of African culture by the Europeans. So when we have these kinds of poems, like these are the things telling us that okay, while having the interaction, just like he said, which is true. Building a nation, we need that culturally, socially, economically. So when we have this interaction, the time we are doing that, we should at least like make more preference, like stand on our ground that yes, this is our own. Thank you.
My name is Adekunle Olashibolu, a student of the University of Lagos studying linguistics, African and Asian studies. When something is good, you definitely cannot deny its value. You cannot ignore its value because of how good that thing is. Looking at African music, art and fashion, it has come a long way, not just within ourselves but globally. So you said something that should we sideline our own fashion and emulate theirs, or should we just, we're not going to do something like that? Because definitely there is what we can do a mixture of our own fashion with their own fashion. It's definitely allowed. That is relationship, just as it said over there. So now looking at our fashion on an example, I would say one of the greatest way the exhibition of African fashion is through music. There are music videos whereby we can see the infusion of fashion into the global space. One of our iconic musician in Nigeria, Wizkid, on a collaboration with Beyonce from Black is King, Brown Skin Girl. In the music video, there were a whole lot of African attires, gele and head ties, which was a promotion of African culture, identity and fashion. It was beyond the music. It was telling us who we are, our culture. And that is a way of emulating, okay, when we are emulating people like that at the top, we can also know that, yes, my culture is not something I'm going to lose away. So now talking about our fashion, I recently came across, okay, I don't recently come across it, but I just literally thought about it very well. Look at the album cover of Made in Lagos. It was literally Ankara. it's beyond the visual imagery of Ankara. It is talking about how he is well grounded about his background, which is Africa. Taking Ankara as a visual imagery for his album cover in the world as one of the most successful albums. That shows how he's infusing African culture into the global stage. We have two African Queen by Tsubaba. We can see the music video. We have Ye by Burna Boy, Fall by Davido. These artists they are putting fashion into the global space. Even Beyonce, Rihanna, Kendrick Lamar, they wear our attires. They mix it with their attires. They emulate our fashion because of how good it is. You know, when something is very catchy, there's no how you want to deny its value. Its value is definitely going to attract you. That's one of the main things I've seen. They came to our country to even come and do things that we don't even know properly about, just to make us know how worthable we are. Even doing I can't remember the exact fashion icon, but it does runway on Lagos on Paris Fashion Week. That shows how global we are. It's not just national anymore. It's not just in the continent anymore. We are global, based on the fashion, on the art, in the music scene. In our music quiz, you can definitely not deny it. We even have our music being played in all the way in United States of America, Canada, India. That shows how African has gone. Jerusalem, which during the pandemic, that song literally caused a whole buzz on TikTok. Because why? African dance culture was definitely something that they found catchy. They had to dance with it, they had to resonate with it, they loved it. So I would say that African arts, music and culture is definitely an influence in the global scene.
All right, thank you. One more speaker before we go on break.
All right. So, answering the question as you asked, what brought Africa to the global stage now? So let's go through prehistoric time. There's this archaeological evidences that shows that African art has been in existence before the coming of the Europeans. According to an Eurocentric scholar known as Magui Peam, he says that without writing, there is no history in Africa, because they believe that whatever was happening in Africa without documentation, then there was no history, and the coming of the European brought about history to Nigeria. But archaeological evidence shows that there have been existing culture in Africa before the coming of the European. For instance, the Benin sculptures, Nok cultures, and all of that shows the artistic value that Africa had before the coming of the European. It even attracted them to the extent of taking these archaeological changes and those those artistic elements, taking it abroad before we now start taking it now. So coming to fashion, I'm a fashion designer, and I would say that consistency as what has brought Africa to the global stage now. Let's look at Vicky James. Let's see her designs, the way she infuses creativity, like she does things out of ordinary. So these things attract global stage, brings us to the global stage. Let's look at the Lagos Fashion Week. We are going to see how magnificent it has always been, different cultures, different displays, and all that's put African on the global stage. Let's also go through this political cohesion that we have. There's something cooperation has been bringing up in Nigeria as a country. Before, there's this tribalistic pressures between, oh, you are Yoruba, you are Igbo, whatever an Igbo person is doing, oh, I'm a Yoruba, I'm not going to support. But looking at this 21st century and this Gen Z age, we can see how cooperation and collaboration has elevated Africa to the global stage.
All right, thank you. Before we continue, the conversation has just kick-started. We'll be going on a short break now. We are establishing the fact that Africa has literally gone global. But when we come back from the break, we want to deal with a very critical issue, and that is why Africans do not intentionally prioritize globalizing our culture. Yes, we can't deny the fact that Afrobeats have gone, African arts and fashion, but regardless, there's still Africans who would go outside and be so quick to forget their culture and imbibe the Western culture. We talked about some fashion designers being creative, but are they creative in the African way? We'll find out when we get back. We're still talking about African culture in terms of fashion, music, and of course arts. Now, before we went on our break, we talked about the fact that there's no denying how Africa, music, fashion, arts has gone global. People are literally imbibing our culture. There are African dances across TikTok. People love our music. Afrobeats has increased streaming by 13 million and the likes. But then, one critical question is, how much more can we sustain it? Especially looking at the fact that this new generation children is so quick to imbibe the Western culture. So we go outside the country to school, for work, and then we start to forget our own culture, our own fashion, our own dressing, our own languages, to the point that we now start to treat African culture as tourist attraction. So if the Westerners are treating us as a tourist attraction and we are doing the same thing, how long can this last? Who wants to go first?
Joshua. I'm an historian from the University of Lagos. So for so long, African history has been ignored by us, and that has translated to the Europeans, ignoring our history. So we see that, okay, our African history have gone global, our music, our fashion, our food, because food is an art. It has gone global, but we don't imbibe the African culture in our everyday life. Look at me, for example. I'm coming from an African history and whatever. I'm putting up in English way. I'm not putting up my idea. So I'm also a corporate of that. Most of us here are corporate. So it's something we should practice daily. It's something we should do daily for African history to be woke. So we blame the Europeans that they see us through the Eurocentric view all the times. But no, we should be the one making them to feel African as people that have impact in the global stage. So I see that if we can be continually practicing that every day in our food, in our fashion, the way we dress, the way we speak, we should teach our younger ones how to speak our local dialect. You see them when they travel abroad, they forget about the language totally. There was one time I was speaking to my cousins abroad and they could not even speak. They told me they don't understand Yoruba language. Like, imagine that. So that is very bad of us. So we should, I think, for African history to be sustained, it is something we should practice daily so that African history should not die. Thank you so much.
I want to cite a quote from one of the great leaders in African continent, Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. Now, he said something. He said, neo-colonialism is the deadliest stage. That is after colonialism. Now, there's what we call colonial legacy. Now, we still have this captivated mindset that, okay, there is this captivation that we have, that yes, but we are independent country. All African countries, yes, we are independent, but there's this in-house dependency that we still have on our colonial masters. So if we really want to erase this thing, just like he said that we are coming here, every one of us, it starts with us. Now I'm wearing a sneaker on a big baggy Ankara and a white shirt. I can go full attire, just like the argument we had earlier, that should we have this interaction? Yes, we can have. But the question is, how far can we go in sustaining it? So the best answer to that is that, yes, we should do it every day. What we eat. Now, there was a time I went to a restaurant and I was like, okay, my friends were like, what do you want to eat? I was like, no. Now outside I did. I was like, no, I'm not going to eat amala. And I love eating amala. So outside, why do I go with Chinese rice? And the restaurant we went to, they sell amala there. So why can't I just, okay, yes, I'm an African. Where I come from, we eat amala. So why can't I eat amala where I am? So that is where it starts from. So, Ile Latinko Eshorode, that is a Yoruba adage that charity begins where? At home. So if we want to sustain our culture, this music, yes, it should start in-house. So it start with us and it start with you. Thank you.
My name is Owen Emmanuel, student of Nigerian Institute of Journalism. So yeah, I understand what everyone has been saying. So I'm throwing this to the house here. So recently we saw the whole saga of Seun Kuti and Wizkid. So are we saying that these people we call our, let's say Wizkid is global, is it trying to bring Africa down? Or Fela is a legend, we shouldn't dispute the fact that Fela is a legend, but why would Wizkid want to bring him down, saying he's bigger than Fela, which is not supposed to happen? And now we see our African artists, they want to win the Grammy. You see them dressing so fly and eloquent to the Grammy Award, but you see them, when it comes to the edits, they don't show up. They don't show up. You see Wizkid. If Wizkid wins an award, you see Baba Ray really want to get the award for him. So I think all this is not making sense. Fine, these legends have done the great works, but some of these artists, these people, they are bringing us back, and we need to do something about it.
And sorry, once again, my name is Adekunle Shibomi. So you said, is Wizkid trying to bring down Afrobeats legacy, right? Was that what you said? Okay, so that is actually a plot twist, because what you actually said is wrong. if you are someone that has been following that iconic superstar right from day one, he has always been hailing the name of Fela. Okay. I understand. So, like, I want to answer his question. So I don't think he's trying to bring down something like that, because this is someone that is very passionate about his origin, very passionate about his background. There's no international award or show that he's going to go for, and he's not going to talk about his background, Africa, Nigerian, Lagos. Even if you remember BET awards, they were being given at the backstage. Wizkid was the same person that came outside, and I was like, okay, this should not be like that. They should call African artists and the main stage to give them awards. So I think that whole Seun Kuti saga with Wizkid is something that definitely he was not trying to bring Fela's name down, because right from the start, Wizkid has always been hailing the name of Fela as the iconic person that created Afrobeat. So I think it's just a plot twist on that head. It's something that we all can even like understand to the fullest. Do you understand?
To quickly drop the African culture, African attire, African food, it just boils down to, you know, the colonial era where we vilified our culture. We were made to see anything outside of us as better than us. Take, for example, compare something made in Germany and then you see something in Nigeria and then you just classify it as Aba made. Aba made goods are low quality. And yes, sometimes, you know, there are goods that are made here that are low quality, but so it is so in other countries. It is so in Germany, it's so in USA. I also think the idolization of outside and Western culture has led to mythifying our own culture. Hence why when you see somebody that was born and bred in Lagos, they get a visa, they go abroad, they go to UK, spend 2 years in UK, they have started speaking with a UK accent, which is not necessarily bad, it's code switching, yeah. But when it comes to anything concerning their culture or anything concerning Nigeria per se, they tend to look at it with some kind of romantic lens, as if it's not just the same as any other language, any other culture there is. Okay, they try to treat it. That's why you see people get so hyped up about, you're gonna come to my wedding and you're gonna wear a gala to my wedding or something like that. You know, they just romanticize it so much. And I'm not saying you shouldn't romanticize your culture, but people have started to treat it as something so foreign, something that is so special that you only see once in a while, when it is not so. You see people on Fridays, everybody is wearing some kind of, you know, cultural attire, even though it's not what we used to wear back then. So I think what we should do is that, I'm not necessarily saying that we should throw away every other culture, we should embrace other cultures, but we should just know that we have to come back to our roots. Even if we're not wearing Iro and Buba every day, at least, well, we should wear something that, okay, yes, this is African. When somebody says it, oh, it's African, you get, so.
Jumoke, and the discussion has been going on so far about culture, language, arts, music, and fashion. I would love to take us down the memory lane that Africa is getting better. Before, we are not even, let me use the Gen Z term, we are not close to the table, but now Africa is actually building the table, and we are using social media as our leverage. So, over the years, people, the foreigners do not regard us as anything, but now the social media now is now giving us the avenue, the opportunity for us to bring ourselves out there. Take, for instance, last year, I think late last year, iShow Speed came, to Nigeria. And with that, I feel like that is like a major improvement on our own culture, because I think it traced back his ancestors back to Ghana. So majority of them don't even know they belong to Africa, because their upbringing gave them the massive understanding that they belong to the foreign country, and the foreign country they are. Now, even in Nigeria ourselves, where you hear most of our names, you be like, oh, my name is Jaden, my name is Solomon, and you be like, you will be forced to ask them, what's your culture? Be like, oh, Igbo. So what's your Igbo name? Oh, I don't have Igbo name. But over there in the foreign land, now you hear Olabamishe, Obaloluwa, Araloluwa, and I feel like that's like a major improvement in our Nigeria to the African culture, and that's like growing our visibility out there. And also the in the music industry, the Burna Boy, David, they're already performing on international platforms, gaining global awards, and that's also giving us the visibility that we need. And as time goes on, we as African, as culturists, we should trying to give a disparity between culture and trend, because as it's going now, we are actually trying to mix, it's our culture, and we are trying to make it trendable. No, culture in one aspect, then trend and the aspect. Imagine you just trying a tattoo, be like, I saw the tattoo in one of my history book like that. Do you know the meaning? Do you understand the history behind it? Do you understand the context? No, you just tattoo on your body and you be like, I saw this fella had this tattoo, and you went ahead to draw it. Tell me the meaning of the tattoo. No. The context to it. No, you don't have it. So as time goes on, we should be able to differentiate between culture and trend, and social media as a leverage to go out there and tell people that African culture is okay. Aisha Speed, when he actually, he's actually a live streamer, and he had over 1 billion views on YouTube and Twitch, trying to tell people what the African culture is. And that alone will actually attract tourists over the world, because there are some people that do not even know what Africa is. They've not heard about it. So that alone is actually creating like a platform for us. And when you went all over Africa, and him telling us that Nigeria jollof is okay, is the best out of the whole Africa jollof rice, I think that's like a +1 to us. So everybody all over the world will want to give Nigeria jollof a try.
So I was scrolling through social media one time, and someone said something very profound. It said, there is no Nigerian who loves Nigeria more than someone who is abroad. So the thing is, you're talking about people who are over there turning into tourists back when they come back to this place. What is the media doing about it? We are storytellers. We as the media, we are storytellers. So how are we telling the stories that will make them identify with the culture that exists here presently? Most of the time, what they call white supremacy. So people assume that they've already juxtaposed the two cultures. So they've given the superiority to the European countries there. So everybody assumes that, okay, the more I associate with the European culture, automatically I feel more superior to my own homeland. So they tend to abandon their own culture, while here, then when they go abroad there to show that, okay, they want to form a form of what would I call it, identification to their culture that they don't really love. So they tend to idolize it over there, and they end up becoming tourists when they come down here. It's still that mindset of what the media is pushing to that side. And if you look at it, when we show our programs, our programs that reflect over there, when we see what they show there, you're talking about it not turning into entertainment, but that's what we show over there. We show every form of African culture. We show that, apart from the other side of poverty and the rest, it's always entertainment. You see Wizkid, nobody has mentioned creatives like Folawiyo, Kenneth Eze. Everybody's mentioning Wizkid, Burna Boy. We cannot escape the fact that it's entertainment that media is pushing towards that side, and that's the only way they can identify with our culture. We're not pushing artists, that writers. Even the writers that we have now, they are always they are giving a frame. Is it that they call one a misandrist or a feminist? They are not pushing the fact that, okay, these people are intelligent Africans that are showing off their talent. That does not have to be entertainment and the rest. Yeah, thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Odine Zayat, and I'm from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. So about the whole question, I feel like what started this whole thing is cultural imperialism. Like the whites have colonized us to the extent that we now believe that if we don't seek their approval, we cannot make any decision for ourselves. Majority of the time, whenever I see some certain people communicate. They tend to mimic the white people's like communication or their styles and everything. Like they tend to not be comfortable with their own self, but they want to be like the whites. So everything all started with the old colonialism, and that's the whole thing that started. That's why you see most people that travel abroad, they want to like fit in. The main purpose, most of the times, not everybody actually know what they want to do when they travel abroad. They just want to go there because they feel like, oh, they are seeing the fancy life, what our forefathers, people have told us about how the white people are. So we believe that, oh yes, if we go there, we'll achieve whatever we want. And most of the time, majority of the black people that have traveled abroad have not achieved most of the things that we think they are achieving. Like our families, I have a sister there and I know what she's going through right now there. Even if she studied and worked so hard to be there, it's not easy for most black people that are outside the country. But they were believing that if they were to travel to other countries, that's like mostly the white countries, they will benefit more because of what we've been told, which is still the colonialism era. You get cultural imperialism and even the media imperialism, same thing with the media imperialism. What she was saying about the media not really publishing most things about the black people, that's still media imperialism. They focus on like, oh yeah, what's Donald Trump doing right now? They don't give a fuck about what's happening, the people that are dying in Nigeria or any other countries in Africa. So that's basically my point.
Okay, the first thing I think we Africans need to change is our mindset. We feel that the moment we get to see a white man, they are more superior than us in every aspect. That was one of the examples that when I went to international airport, we wanted to onboard a flight, and they had to attend to the white person first before us. And what's the difference between us? We are both humans, just our color. So now another thing is what is going to make it different if we can put on this to our daily activities, Monday, Tuesday, whether make it our official wear. Why are we imbibing their culture and making shirts and pants and shirts our official wear every day? And another thing is our language. We have some French-speaking countries that make sure that the French is one of the single languages that everybody speak generally. But in Nigeria, it's English. There is no place I will not go, I will not speak Ijebu, irrespective of the gathering. I will ensure that I speak English, I speak Ijebu, I can speak Hausa, yes. But irrespective, so another thing is that we should have to ensure that our food and every other thing, we make it superior in everywhere, in every perspective. Thank you.
I would rather say, as Africans, we are yet to be healed from the colonial wrath. Some people are mentally retarded. Imagine someone answering Anike, like, my name is Annex, for the name to be like Anglican. She wants her name to sound like maybe she has arrived. Let's say now, for example, people abroad, like they have this strong strong cultural institution that helps their culture. Like in Nigeria now, let's say for example, in LASU, we do not have language lab. In UNILAG, there is no language lab. Our institutions, there are no language lab. How do we speak our language very well? Like other countries, they have what we call language standardization. No matter how fluent you are in English, you can never be able to speak than the English. No matter how fluent you are, you can, because no matter how you speak, they will say they own their language. But in Nigeria, yeah, let's say in Africa, they'll be like, they want to speak like the English. Even their Yoruba, they would like to turn it around to speak like the English. The reason causing all this is that we do not have cultural institution. We do not have strong cultural institution that will be like educating people like, this is our language, this is how to call A, open your mouth very well, this A, this is B, this is D. There is nothing like that education. We are just going. We are just going. There is let me say, there is no need. There is no way. And that's what's causing it. If our government did not provide solution to this, we just be going like that. So I rest my case here.
Ms. Maburukoje Catherine, and I will say this, for those of our people or Nigerian people that travel to other countries, I will say this: when you get to Rome, you have to act like a Roman to just fit in. So let's not forget that fact that even when those that are there come here, they try to act like us so that they can also fit in. When you get to Rome, you act like a Roman. There's this funny thing I saw online. Who saw that Ghana Must Go? Balenciaga was selling. Yes, so Louis Vuitton. They were selling the Ghana Must Go bag, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Because what we know as Ghana Must Go, the story is not even, and you're calling it a luxury item just because you've seen what African culture is and you like it and you try to imbibe it to yours. So I will always say this again, yeah, change is always constant here, I get, but at the same time, as they are embracing ours, and we are embracing theirs, let's make sure that we don't allow theirs overshadow ours, no matter what happens. Because if you go there and you start speaking like them, when you come here, bro, I don't want to be here in it. Talk to me with the language that we're speaking here. So please, as much as possible, we oblige to everybody that those that are there, once you get back, please don't let that culture over there overshadow yours. Thank you.
I can't fully speak Yoruba very well because the culture is not really well. We all want to know how to speak English. We want to know how to speak their own language over there. So when you see people going out and they are talking in the way they are talking over there, they most times just want to feel among and be like people over there. She said something earlier. She said change is constant. As much as change is constant, there's still a place of remembering that we ourselves, we came from somewhere. There is a source that we all came from, and if we are forgetting that source, saying that we are imbibing what they are doing over there, then we are losing it all totally. So for us to come back home now, we need to understand the fact that we are all Africans and we must behave like those Africans that we are. We must behave like Africans that we are, else the culture is dying. The culture is dying.
I've gathered every point here, and I actually have to say something. We actually influenced in Nigeria, especially Nigeria. Just as the foreigners, they are always racist, they do racism. In Nigeria, yeah, tribalism has been one of the most important factors which is influencing us. You cannot come and tell me that which state are you from, Yoruba, and you say get out from here. Because I see, no, because what is culture? The total way of life. They didn't say, because the life itself is diversified. It's giving a lot of things, music, food, art, and we human beings here in Nigeria, we don't really take our culture really strong. We actually get influenced by the whites, and I'm telling you for a fact that if you continue doing such things like this, you are going to regret. Like this, I'm actually a Yoruba boy from Kwara State. Up to now, I'm still 18. I've never gone to my state. I keep telling my parents, I want to go to my state. I'm very sure like this. I can't actually speak Yoruba. I'm not proud of it though. I can't actually speak Yoruba very well. But why? The way the world is it's just evolving, and people are already getting influence. And if you continue like this, it won't really give us this kind of, yeah. Thank you.
So I'd like to bring us back to the fashion space about, there's something called fashion cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation. So cultural appropriation is where culture, you don't acknowledge where this culture is from, you simplify it just to suit your global mainstream trend. And there's cultural appreciation where you say, okay, this is where this culture comes from, okay, I appreciate it for what it is, okay, I just want to collaborate with this culture. So we should learn to know the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Another thing I would like to say is that our culture has been, it has been deemed less prestigious because of the type, when we check online, we see that, oh, they are dancing and they are wearing this type of clothes. So African has been given that local frame, and I would like us to change that perspective, because if you check logos of big brands, of high fashion brands, you see Fendi, you see Gucci, you see this type of logo that is taken from our Nok culture, the Benin culture, and this is things that they have stolen. Have taken from our culture and made it haute couture and made it high fashion when it is not high fashion. So I just think that we should change that perspective, because it is from us. Africa is the foundation. It is not just like coming to the table. Africa was already the table, but it was not labeled as the table. Yes.
30 seconds, please. 30 seconds, please.
Contribution to the discussion is that our problem lies is the third form of education, which is miseducation, because we tend to focus on education and on education only, but there's the other form of education, which is miseducation. We have been miseducated to believe that our cultures and tradition, they are nothing to write home about to us, and that's why we tend to embrace external factors than our own things. And the way forward to this problem on ground is what is called nowadays Africomology. Africomology is set up to enable us to be able to embrace our Africa culture and tradition instead of looking forward to external things. So thank you.
Well, that's all we can take. Unfortunately, the conversation was heated up, But then one thing that we should know, and one thing that we can take away from here, is that no matter how we try to localize the global culture, we should not forget that our priority is to Africanize the world. So whatever you're doing, wherever you are across the world, make sure that you carry your culture along with you and not treat it like a tourist attraction. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Do also join us on our subsequent episodes of Afanwa Africa as we talk about the challenges of the youth and how to solve them. Thanks for watching.